Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this video. This is Doug with News and Views by Doug. So, this is going to be kind of a little bit different from what I've been doing. And it's about stolen valor. This morning, I was walking into a 7-Eleven and I saw a guy wearing a Marine Corps uniform, and something just was off. It was his hair, it was the boots he was wearing, and he was in full camouflage, which is against Marine Corps policy. Can't be wearing the camouflage battle uniform out in public unless you're heading home or going to work. Can't be stopping off at stores. So, anyways, as he passed me, I said, "When did the Marine Corps switch boots?" And he looked at me and just walked away. Well, I've seen a lot of stolen valor, and I end up watching a lot of the videos that you see on YouTube with, I forget his name. He's a gentleman out there who's a Navy SEAL, retired, and he's exposing all the frauds. And I tell you, it's kind of funny, especially when it comes to SEALs. I'm a semi-retired photojournalist, and every time I had a story in Coronado, California, which is home of a large SEAL population, every single sailor that was there in my video, because I was doing breaking news, they would walk up to me very quietly and say, "Hey, I can't be in your video because I'm a Navy SEAL." And there's probably about 400 SEALs that operate out of the Coronado area. And I met all 1,800 of them. It amazes me. Excuse me. It amazes me how many people I'm a Navy SEAL. And I would tell them, if you hadn't have said anything to me, nobody would know that you're a SEAL. But two of my experiences when it came to the Marine Corps, I was doing a story over in Mission Beach, and there was a man that was sitting on the seawall, and he had USMC sweatpants. And as I walked by him, I looked at him, and as all Marines do, we greet each other with a simple thing, our motto. I looked at him and I said, "Semper Fi." He looked at me, gave me a strange look, and I said, "Morning, Semper Fi." He goes, "What the hell are you saying to me?" I said, "Semper Fi, Semper Fidelis." I said, "Are you a Marine?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I was a Marine." I was like, "Oh, okay." I said, "You don't understand Semper Fi?" And he just gave me the dumbest look. And I said, "Who'd you play with? What unit?" And he said, "Oh, I was a firefighter at Miramar." Excuse me. And I said, "Oh, fucking, that's great." And he said suddenly, "And then I went to recon." I gave him the look. And I said, "You went to recon from being a firefighter?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "So they sent you through infantry school and then you started working towards recon?" He goes, "Oh, no, it was an automatic transfer." Okay, the bullshit meter went flying sky high. I said, "You're telling me you were a firefighter at Miramar and then suddenly you're in a recon unit with no infantry experience?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." And then all of a sudden he goes, "And then when I got out of active duty, I went to the Navy and joined the Navy Reserve." I said, "Oh, don't tell me. Navy SEALs?" He goes, "No, I became a corpsman." And I said, "Oh, so you went to Fort Sam Houston for your medical training?" "Oh, no, it was on the job training with my reserve unit." I looked at him, I said, "So one of the most important jobs in the Navy, a Navy corpsman," which to you civilians, that's a medic. I sat there and I said, "So you became a medic, a corpsman, one of the most important jobs in the Navy with no medical training. So you went from firefighter to recon to corpsman." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "And you don't know what Semper Fi means?" He goes, "What's that got to do with it?" I said, "You're nothing but a fucking liar." I said, "How fucking dare you?" And he promptly walked away. My second story about stolen valor is I was on the freeway. I got off at 8th Street in Chula Vista, and I came to the stoplight, and there's a man standing there with the sign saying, U.S. veteran, homeless, anything will help. And he also had USMC written on the sign. I rolled down my window. I was going to help him. And I said, how you doing, Marine? And he goes, oh, I'm fine, man. Can you help me? I said, yeah. I said, who'd you play with? That's my usual question, what unit? He looked me square in the eye and he said, the 82nd Airborne. I said, you were in the 82nd Airborne? He goes, yeah, man, I jumped all the time. I said, and you were a Marine? He goes, yeah. Hey, can you help me? I said, I can help you get your story straight. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, hate to tell you, but you're the most special Marine to have ever lived. He goes, what do you mean? I said, there's never been a Marine that has been a part of the 82nd Airborne. I said, they go to jump school out there in Georgia. They do special ops with the Airborne. But there's no Marine that's ever been a part of the 82nd Airborne. That's purely an Army unit. Oh, man, you don't know what you're talking about, man. I was in Special Forces. I'm like, so you're a Marine who was in the 82nd Airborne and then you went to Special Forces. He goes, yeah, man, are you going to help me or not? I said, again, let's get your story straight. There's no Marines in any of those Army units. You have a great day. And I drove away. It really is bizarre how many people are out there claiming to be something that they weren't. And I was at the VA yesterday. I had to have my heart zapped. And one of my friends works at the VA. And she told me that there's a guy running around the VA. He's former Navy. He's a real veteran. But she said that he's telling everybody he's a Navy SEAL. And of course, she had access to his records. And he was never a Navy SEAL. But she says he's 6'8", he's a giant of a man, and he always intimidates people and causes a lot of problems at the VA. Well, if you're at the VA and you're causing these kind of problems and you're claiming things that you weren't, maybe the VA police should get involved, and maybe your rights, your benefits should be taken away. There's thousands of people out there claiming to have been former military, and they weren't, telling stories. So like I said, there's this guy out there on YouTube. He's got thousands of videos where he goes and exposes a lot of these people. And it's kind of funny. They've got their uniforms on wrong. They're wearing ribbons and badges and medals that they shouldn't. And there's even this one guy. He claimed he was a Navy SEAL admiral, and his medals didn't match. He had a uniform, but his just medals and ribbons didn't match, and then his story was all wrong. So anyways, folks, like I said, something different. I'm going to do another video today talking about Nick Shirley and how California is trying to wipe out the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Folks, you take care of yourselves. Please be safe out there. Please subscribe, like. If you have an opinion to give, leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for your time.